If you are on a self-discovery journey, this podcast is for you. We will explore personal growth through storytelling, candid conversations, and practical strategies to help us navigate through life's challenges and rewards. This is your Access Has Been Granted podcast, the off season. Regulators! Welcome back to your Access Has Been Granted podcast, the off season. And as we discussed in the beginning of the off season kind of ends around March for me. So this is wrapping up the off season and getting ourselves prepared for the spring. That time that we need to create, reinvent, and start doing the things that we've developed in the off season. So today I want to focus on something that's very important, and I feel like I've expressed it in multiple episodes in different types of ways. But after starting my challenge, I felt like it needed to have its own episode. So today we're going to talk about the power of choice. All right. So if you don't know, I am doing 75 hard right now. And it's not just me and my guests from the last episode, my best friend, Nakia. We decided this time that we wanted to create a community around 75 hard. And we did just that. And unbeknownst to us, it was going to be 40 women that decided that they wanted to do this challenge with us. We went in thinking maybe we'll get 5, maybe we'll get 10. We knew off rip that we had at least 5 to 10 people that we knew wanted to do the challenge, but we had no idea that it was going to be 40 people to do this challenge with us. And within us creating and designing this ebook that we created for the challenge to make it easier for everyone to follow along, we revisited this idea of choice quite a bit, because a lot of what has happened in this process of doing 75 hard started out with a choice. And when you think about life, everything starts out with making a choice. So we created a contract. Nakia outlined this contract, and she made sure that she highlighted the power of choice in that contract for everyone to sign when we started 75 hard, because we wanted to highlight the importance of the power that we hold to make these choices in our lives that ultimately change our lives forever. So today's episode, we're going to be focusing on the power of choice, what that power looks like, because the best skill set you can have in this life is good decision making. And in order to make good decisions, you have to understand the power that you have in the choices that you make. All right, regulators. So to wrap up the off season, I wanted to talk about the power of choice, mainly because when we go into the next season in the spring, when we're starting to creatively build our lives up to reach our goals for 2025, when we're being creative, when we're being reinventive, I want us to understand how much power we have when we're making decisions and how impactful our choices is when it comes to our life's journey. It's very easy to overlook how significant our choices are, because we get wrapped up in this cycle of impulsive decisions that's mostly backed by anxiety, especially in the world that we live in today. It's so much chaos and it's so much active fear amongst each other. I could be in a group and I could be completely peaceful and calm and thinking about nothing going on in the world, but the person next to me is anxious. They're looking at the news. They're on Instagram. They're like, did you see this? Did you see that? Did you see this? And you have to be able to understand your power of choice, even in situations just as small as what you consume and how you digest everything that's going on around you. So I wanted to take us through this little journey of understanding our power when it comes to the choices we make and how it affects our lives moving forward. So let's explore what embracing the power of choice looks like and how it shapes our decision making and shapes the lives that we want to live. Embracing the power allows you to decide on your path and take control of your destiny. We talk a lot about writing out goals and envisioning your future. It's one thing to want to be something and want to do something, but it's a whole nother thing when you get in that process. And I always refer back to old episodes when we talk about trusting the process. A lot of trust in the process comes with a lot of challenges of being able to make decisions that's going to get you to the next level. Are you going to always make the right decisions? No. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more in the episode. But the facts is that throughout this process, in order for us to get to that destination, in order for us to be able to trust the process and move through life's ebbs and flows, we are going to have to take our control and understand the power that we have in our decision making and the choices that we make. Embracing the power of choice also helps us to overcome obstacles, break self-limiting beliefs, and turn our aspirations into reality. Whether it's a career, relationship, or the personal growth that we're talking about every day on this podcast, the choices that we make take us closer to the life that we envision day after day. Even the smallest choices. I talked about 75 hard and how I'm in this challenge. And I believe in the episode prior to this one, I talked about a lot of the choices that I'm making today as the 39-year-old Brittany is to benefit the 70-year-old Brittany and the 80-year-old Brittany. And I understand my power of choice more now than I ever did before. Before I found myself stuck in those self-limiting beliefs. And a lot of this episode is, yes, talking about the power of choice, but in opposite is going to highlight how we have a lot of self-limiting beliefs that don't allow us to use our power of choice, and we just go with the flow more so than we need to. You know what just came to me when I said that? The power of choice is embracing the ability to be a disruptor. I think in my heart, I am a disruptor and I'm okay with it. Being my authentic self lets me know that I won't always fall in line with everybody else. I won't jump on every trend. And when I speak, I only speak when I need to speak. And sometimes it is to push people forward, and it can come off disruptive. That just came to me. I just thought about that. We got to be disruptive when we thinking about that. And sometimes disruptive can come off as a negative word. But when you're in a world where we talked about only 7 to 10% of people are self-aware, when you're going against the majority, you're always going to appear to be the disruptive. But if you have good intent and goodwill, and you know you're working in your purpose and your passion, being a disruptor in that way is a risk taker, and is what the world needs. The few. I remember I said we got to be a part of the few. If you're a regulator, I already know you're a part of the few. And right now, when I'm having this conversation, I'm realizing that we're not just regulators, we're also disruptors. Now we're going to talk a little bit about the influence of choice and how it operates in two directions. Sometimes we don't stop to think when we having these motivational conversations about the negative side. And like I just made a note of, the majority of people are struggling with the negative side of the power of choice. I don't think a lot of us realize when we're in our ebbs of life, when we're in our downtimes, where we're struggling or when we feel like it's our turn to be going through things and challenges, and those self-limiting beliefs and those obstacles are hitting up upside the head. It's like we're in a boxing ring and it's hitting upside the head. We don't realize how often we are stuck making decisions that keep us in that cycle. And we're using our power of choice in that same minute. We're just choosing to do the opposite of what's going to push us forward. Is it wrong or right? I can't say. I don't know what lessons you're supposed to be learning in this era of your journey, but I do know that the choices that you make definitely determine the path that you're going to go on. So the first thing I want to talk about when we're talking about this power of choice and how it operates in two different directions is sometimes too many options can cause overstimulation and overwhelm us. I have struggled with being overstimulated for quite some time, and I didn't even identify with what it was for a very long time. And my process of decreasing that overstimulation and being overwhelmed all the time, that anxiety that the world creates, it started out with the smallest changes. I use my power of choice to turn off the news and be conscious about what I consume. So when you say consume, some people think eat first. But when I say consume, I mean everything. What you digest, whether it be with your eyes, your ears, or your mouth. What you touch, what you feel, what you put yourself around and surround yourself with. All of that is consumption. And a lot of my power of choice started with me limiting what I was consuming. So my overstimulation, I would watch the news and be completely overstimulated. And I wouldn't identify that the anxiety came from watching the news, because in my mind, I was being informed. I think that I was doing, what I was supposed to do as an adult by making sure I knew exactly what was going on in the world as much as possible. But it overstimulated me so much so that it distracted me from my day-to-day task, and it completely overwhelmed me. But I was making a choice. Now, that choice is I don't watch the news. I can't remember the last time I watched the news. I watch clips. I get enough information just to be informed, but consuming that on a daily basis is not a part of my routine, honey. No, bam. Another point that I want to make is how difficult it can be to decide what's best and how it can lead to you feeling stuck. Stuck is an adjective that I think most people in this world who are struggling on their self-discovery journey can identify with. It's not that you're not being active. You're going about your day every day, doing exactly what you set out to do. But sometimes you don't feel like you're making progress. Sometimes you feel like the things that you're doing isn't going to get you to those dreams and aspirations that you have, because you haven't quite sat with yourself and took the time to say, is what I'm doing going to lead me here? You're likely doing what society tells you you're supposed to be doing. You're likely doing what your job has told you you're supposed to be doing, or whatever someone else has outlined to you to be the way for you to get to where you need to go. And a lot of this self-discovery process is you pulling away from the ideas of everybody else, including society, sometimes even pulling away from what you learned from your family, your parents, the church leaders, the advisors in your world, so that you can relearn some of these processes as the person that you are today with the knowledge that you have today. And I want to encourage us through this process to understand the power of choice so that we can get unstuck. Another direction that I see the power of choice take people and has taken me even now today, depending on what the situation is the route of anxiety and how it can arise from fear of making the wrong choice. A lot of times we have experienced heartbreak, devastation from some of the choices that we've made in the past. I know a lot of people who are still operating in 2025 based off of an experience they had in 2015. They have made it Bible. They have decided that it cannot change because what happened in 2015 damaged them so much, and they didn't do the proper healing or the proper work to get past it. And they're still operating in 2025 based on the decisions that they made in 2015. We talk a lot about grace, giving grace to ourselves and giving grace to others. And anxiety is just simply this thought that you can control the future. It's this thought that you are going to make the wrong decision and you're going to fail. That thought alone keeps us stuck. It doesn't allow us to take risk. It doesn't allow us to move forward. And so what if you get it wrong? You know what I'm saying? If you get it wrong, you get back up and be resilient and you try again. And that's a lot of what my messaging is. The emotional regulations and us becoming a regulator, it requires us to be disruptive. It requires us to take risk, and it requires us to fail more than we win. I don't know how many motivational speeches you need to hear. I don't know how many books you need to hear. I don't know how many billionaires you need to hear speak at conferences, but every one of them will tell you that they failed more than they won. But what they didn't do is they didn't stop. Another direction I can see choices going in is this idea or the pressure to make the perfect choice, and how intense that could be, especially when you're thinking about societal norms and the expectations that others have for you. We kind of briefly spoke about that prior to. There is no such thing as perfect. There's no perfect person. There's no perfect situation. There is no perfect outcome. We have to be okay with things happening the way that they should happen and being able to learn from them instead of it being perfect and everything being right. I'm telling you now, if you feel like everything is going to be right when you make a decision, if you feel like just because something is good for you, good to you, that it's going to always be good, you are going to be let down all the time. There is no perfect anything. Perfect does not exist, just as much as normal does not exist. This next point is something that I've experienced myself. I experienced it through my work being a mental health and substance abuse counselor. And I've experienced it, of course, doing life coaching with individuals from different walks of life. Sometimes we get caught up in this self-doubt and guilt because what we did with good intent did not lead to a desired outcome. We sit down, we set our intentions. We say, God, we're doing this because we feel like this is our purpose. Our purpose is to serve people. So this is what I want to do. We sit down and we write out our goals. We write out our action steps. And everything is done with good intent and a pure heart. If we get into a situation and we don't get the outcome that we desire, we start to question if we were ever right when we made the decision in the first place. We start to feel guilty for us creating this whole plan and doing everything we were supposed to do, but not getting the desired outcome. And instead of us seeing it as a lesson to be learned, to self-reflect, figure out what it needs to be, what we need to rework, what needs to be reinvented in that process, we'll get stuck here in this space. And we start to feel guilty about the decisions we make. And now at that point, we're doubting ourselves. So now it's hard to even get past this. We can't get past the undesired outcome that we have and continue to push forward to get to that desired outcome that we had in the first place. Because one roadblock should not stop us from getting to our destination. That's that resilience that we've been talking about building during the off season. Just because there's a roadblock or an outcome isn't what we desired it to be, no matter if we put all our good intent and we did everything we were supposed to do, that outcome not being what we desired it to be will keep us stuck. We'll start self-doubt and experiencing self-doubt. We'll start experiencing guilt, and the negative self-talk that we have will immediately take away our power of choice. Now, regulators, I'm a very empathetic and compassionate person, and I think I have those traits naturally, and I've developed them over time, especially being a life coach. A lot of my job is being empathetic and compassionate to every person that I speak to, because every situation is different and every person is different. And with that comes heavy weight. A lot of why I went to go to school to be trained to be a life coach is because of the heavy weight that I felt as a counselor. I felt the heavy weight of what decisions I helped my clients make, what guidance I gave, because I knew how much of an impact it would have on their lives. When we take that down and scale it back to a micro level and it's just us, we carry so much weight with our decision making because we feel like it's going to impact others, right? And that's cool, but I want us to start thinking from the internal aspect and then external. When you make these decisions, what is it going to do to change your life? Because when your life changes, you change the people around you. When you start worrying about yourself first, working on yourself first and making these decisions for yourself, everything that you gain from this process, whether it be a lesson, whether it be a reward, whether it be a challenge, all of those things are going to affect the people around you. But how is the importance? How is it going to impact the people around you? How are you going to be able to take what you've learned and be able to create space for other people to learn from those same decisions that you made and understand that they too have to be resilient and keep moving forward? So as we think about all of those ways that the power of choice can keep us stuck, I want to start talking about just briefly how we can get unstuck. If we start to look at every choice as an opportunity for learning and growth, we'll start looking at those challenges as lessons, as I said before, and we'll start moving forward and pushing past those challenges. We'll start looking at it like, okay, I just thought about the Spartan race for some reason. When I did the Spartan race last year, the biggest issue that I had was I've never done this before. That was one. I did the Mud Girl, right? The Mud Girl was more fun, but it popped my cherry. It got me ready for obstacle races, but I also am not a runner. I'm barely a jogger. I'm more of a walker, sprinter, a sprint walker. I like to speed walk at best. And a lot of what I learned through that process is that you can modify, adjust, readjust as many times as you want to. When I went to the Spartan race last year, I did that first initial obstacle, and it was a bear crawl on the ground, bear crawl under barbed wire. That was how the race started. And I was like, what have I gotten myself into? The Spartan race is one thing. I'm in the gym every day and I'm asking myself, what have I gotten myself into? But I know what I've gotten myself into because I have made the choice that I'm going to go in here every day, because every day is an opportunity for me to learn and for me to grow, not just mentally, although that's the primary source right here. That working out every day and pushing yourself to your limits is mental. I already made the choice that I'm going to do this regardless of what it takes out of me or what it is going to require of me. And me making that choice is what pushes my body every day to do the hard things. We talked about our mind and our body being on the same page. And I want to just kind of briefly talk about that, because if we're going to embrace the opportunity for learning and growth, we have to understand this process just a smidget. And we're going to talk a little bit about how neuroscience and spirituality connects these points. But every choice we make is an opportunity for learning and growth. When I say your mind and your body has to be on the same page, your mind is what you think and your body is how you feel. If you're thinking one way and feeling another way, there is going to be some break in the alignment there. Your mind is going to be telling you to do one thing, but your body is going to be feeling something else and operating in the same way. But if your mind is on, we're going to learn and we're going to grow, and your feelings are in agreement with that, your body is going to say, we're going to learn, we're going to grow. Right now, I've been wearing a brace every day, a knee brace every day, because I have already made the choice that we are going to grow through this 75 hard challenge. So this knee, instead of me using it as an excuse to sit down and not do the work, I put my brace on and I walk in the gym and I say, hey, to my trainers, I have an injury. My knee is swelling today. I can't really do anything. The doctor already said all you got to do is ice it, heat it, get a little aspirin in your system, elevate it at night. I've already understood what I need to do to treat it, because I'm growing through this process regardless of what. And my trainers make the modifications and we do what we need to do in order to create the opportunity to learn and to grow. And I just want to continue to use my story and my experiences on my day-to-day life to show you that the opportunity for learning and growing is always there, but you have to use your power and choose to either use it as an opportunity to learn and grow or to stay stuck in the position that you are in. And to wrap up this section, I just want to say that embracing the ups and downs of decision making builds resilience and self-awareness. A lot of what the off season is about is the resilience and developing and building the resilience and the self-awareness. It is hard for you to make the choices that you need to make to move forward if you don't know yourself. Knowing yourself is the beginning of any process. A lot of times when people are moving through life and they're unhappy with the decisions that they're making, or they're unhappy with the life that they're living, it's because they haven't even taken the time to figure out who they are in the present time. They might have identified with it when they were 20, 25, 30, but now you're 35 and older and you're still trying to figure out who you are now. Life changes, we change, experiences happen to us, trauma, anxiety, depression. There's so much that happens to us over time. And we have to be able to sit with ourselves on a regular basis, like the off season. Every year I sit with myself for months at a time to reevaluate my life and figure out who I am now, because I changed so much, because I'm intentional about making different life changes every day. I'm implementing habits every day. So by the time the off season comes, yes, I assume, I intend, I expect to be different. So I sit with myself for months at a time to see how different I am. This time I'm just doing it with you guys. And it makes you so much more self-aware when you take the time to be in a space where you're calm, you're resting, you're reflecting, and you're developing all of those things that you have decided is going to be a part of you. You're letting go all of those things that you figure you don't need anymore, and you're fine-tuning everything. Please take the time to make sure you're embracing the ups and the downs, because your decision making depends on it. Your power of choice depends on it. So I hope that section right there got you thinking a little bit more about how your life looks and how you're choosing to use your power of choice. So if you listen to me enough, you know that I love to connect neuroscience with spirituality. For me, I wanted to explain that to you guys today too, because for me, a big part of my journey of unlearning and relearning was to break away from how I was taught spirituality and religion and to learn it for myself. I wanted to reconnect to God for myself because I felt intuitively that He had given me the power to do so. I have always felt intuitively that I saw differently, I heard differently, I felt differently when spoken to about God, when reading the Bible. I always saw it, and maybe because I'm passionate about human behaviors and psychology, I can read a scripture and connect it to psychology like this. So since it's something that I love to do, to make sure that I align theology and psychology, not only for myself, but for my clients, for the people around me, for my parents, for my family, because we are Christian based, we are believers in God. We read the Bible. So if we're going to do it, I'm going to do both. I'm going to always include a little bit of psychology and neuroscience in the process because I want us to connect our worlds all the time. So let's connect a little bit neuroscience and spirituality to this concept of the power of choice. The first thing I want to say is that our thoughts and imagination can actually reshape our brains in various ways. And that's including on the molecular level, genetics, epigenetics, cellular, structural, neurochemical. All of these ways are very much so documented, researched ways that our brains, our thoughts can change how our brains work. Our thoughts are like our own brain surgeons, shaping the connections in our minds as we make choices. The ability to change our brains through our mindset is known as epigenetics. And in the scripture, it says, as a man thinks, so he is, Proverbs 23:7. And then the ability to adapt and change through mental activity is neuroplasticity. And what the Bible say in Romans 12:2 of the renewing of the mind, they speak of the renewing of the mind. So I want y'all to go over there and read those two scriptures so you can understand how much the Bible has already told us, how much God, the scripture had already told us that we have the power to change our thoughts. We have the power to renew our minds, and we have to be able to use these things to our advantage and stop allowing the world, our negative experience, our feelings to navigate how we move through this world. In conclusion, recognizing the transformative power of choice will open you to a world of possibilities and growth. Navigate life with intention and purpose. It'll help you understand how each decision serves as a stepping stone towards your dreams and aspirations. It'll even help you discover true potential through choices. Every choice helps redefine the path and align actions with the values. Throughout that process, you gain confidence and resilience with each step. You achieve a deeper understanding of oneself. You create a life that reflects authenticity and fulfills aspirations. And when we talk about the life of authenticity, I always tell people that I love authentic people. Me loving authentic people don't mean that every person that's authentically being themselves belong in my circle or I belong in theirs. But what I can respect about somebody or anyone is moving through this world being completely yourself with no barriers and being fully in love doing that. I respect people who are authentic because if you are inauthentic, you are struggling day by day and you're stuck in spaces that you don't truly want to be in because you're living to be somewhere else. You're not even being yourself. You're not even self-aware enough to know who you are to be authentic. But you, them, they are the most judgmental people in this world. And I tend to stray away from those who overly judge others because I know that 9 times out of 10, you're not even being your authentic self. So authenticity being a outcome of your power of choice is enough for me. I would love for people to understand how much authenticity is fulfilling, how much it gets you to that desired outcome, how much it makes you resilient. Because when you're authentic and you know you're being yourself, you'll get up 10 times over just because you know you're standing in the pain for you. You will stand alone, and you will allow other people to be themselves and make the choices that they feel like they need to make for themselves without having any animosity towards them, because you understand that when it comes to you, you're going to use your power of choice in the way that you feel like you need to, being your authentic self. That allows you to be more empathetic and compassionate to others when they make their choices and use their powers, whether it be right, wrong, or indifferent. You allow people to do that with empathy and compassion, and I feel like that makes the world such a better place. Hey regulators, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And oh no, don't forget to hit that notification bell. If you don't hit the notification bell, how will you know that we upload? Any information that you need is in the description box. My information is in the description box. My guest information is in the description box. And I can't wait to see you the next time. Bye.